In this video, I'm going to show you how to draw a cylinder and how to add some shading to it. Because we're developing our shading skills, why not practice them on a cylinder? So for this exercise, you're going to need your white paper, a pencil, an eraser, and a clean tissue if you like. All right, so let's get started drawing the cylinder. So I'm going to make this a more narrow cylinder, thinking about it being almost like a toilet paper tube or a paper towel tube. So as I draw, I'm thinking about drawing something that's called an ellipse or an oval. Okay, so I'm going to sketch this lightly. And this is about the shape I'm looking for. So I might need to do some refinement on that. Just kind of cleaning up the lines and deciding what actually gets kept and what's going to get erased. So you always want to start nice and light. You don't want to outline anything really darkly, especially because we're going to be adding some shading. And we don't want a dark outline on this because it's going to flatten out our work, meaning it's going to look less realistic and less three-dimensional if we outline it super dark. Okay, so I'm pretty happy with that. Now the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead down the sides of this, and I'm going to try and do this a little bit longer, remembering that I'm trying to do something more like a toilet paper roll or a paper towel roll, and I'm going straight out from the edge. Okay, so what you don't want to do, and I see this a lot, is you don't want to draw a circle and then do two lines. You'll notice that there's a significant difference in the way these look. So oftentimes I see students draw a circle, put two lines on it, and draw a line across. That is not what we want to do. Okay, so we're coming down, straight down from the very edges of the sides of the ellipse or oval that we drew, as best we can. Okay, so the other thing I see students do is they'll do a decent ellipse and then they'll do their sides like this, and we want to avoid that as well. So this coming right out from the very edge. Okay, and again, you can use your eraser to clean up your lines. Take your time and really get decent contour drawing. That means the outline that you want to work with before you move on to shading. Okay, so once we have the sides put in, it doesn't have to be perfect, we're going to put in the bottom. Okay, so as I come down to the bottom, what I'm thinking about is taking that same idea of an ellipse, a rounded bottom, and coming back up and around. Now, in reality, we wouldn't see this line, but it often helps students to get the right shape as they're drawing. Go ahead and erase any lines that went down beyond that. Anything that we may need to clean up, we'll do that now. Again, do not darken up any of your lines at this point. We're just lightly sketching in the shape. Okay, the next thing I'm going to do is I am going to pull this out now. It's just to help me get the bottom line drawn in correctly, and I'm left with this. Okay, so you can imagine this being a toilet paper roll or the tube from a paper towel. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to add some shading, and we want to identify where our light source is. So our light source is going to be coming from over here. Okay, and light sources can come from different areas, but for this drawing we're going to have it coming from here. It's important to know and understand that depending on where your light source is, it changes where your shadows will be. So generally speaking, if our light source is here, That means the darkest part of our tube, if you will, is going to be on the opposite side. So we're going to go ahead and begin layering in some shading on this side. And this is going to be our darkest value. So if you think back to your value scale and you're thinking about your darkest value, this is where we're going to see that dark value come in. Remember, the more pressure you put on your pencil and the lower you hold it, oftentimes the darker the value is going to be. I'm just going straight up and down with my pencil. And that darker value is going to come out to about here. Don't forget that you can pause the video and study the image as you're working. Think about the placement of your value. You may need to sharpen your pencil while you're working. And you're just going to really build up that dark area. You'll notice that in this section I have a lighter value happening, okay? So it's not quite as dark. And then underneath our tube, we're gonna have something that's called a cast shadow. And if you remember from other drawings we've done, I've told you that when two objects meet, you're often going to see a shadow directly underneath them. So I'm going to come in here with my sharpened pencil and just do a thin line of a shadow. But I am not going to outline the whole tube like this, okay? Then we have a cast shadow that's coming over to this side. And the cast shadow is a shadow that is created when the light hits the object and then a shadow is cast onto the surface on which the object is sitting, okay? So it's called a cast shadow. Make that super dark where that's meeting, and then we'll begin to fade that out a little bit. So it's not quite our darkest value as we move away. And this cast shadow is going to get lighter as we begin to move further out. I am going to go ahead in up here and just draw a little bit of a rim. So imagining this is a tube of some sort. And I'm going to begin to pop in a really dark shadow right here to help create the illusion of it being a tube. And I'm going to continue to move my hand up my pencil as I work. So I hit about here, there's going to be a highlight and then a little bit of a shadow coming down this side. Very light though. All right, now let's begin to blend this with our tissue. So I'm going to start on the light side first. I'm going to move my tissue in the same direction as my shading. And then I'm going to darken up some of these values by going back in, adding more pencil on top of there. And now what I can do is I can go back in with my eraser and pop in any highlights or clean up any lines that I really need to adjust. So I would definitely wait until you're done to do this, because otherwise every time you go in to blend with your finger or your tissue, you're just gonna have a mess that you have to clean up again. So I definitely would wait till the end to use this. So I am going to use my eraser either on my pencil or on a different eraser if you have one available, but you're gonna find a skinnier one to pop in any skinny highlights that you might have. Because this is a drawing where we're not using any special materials. So this is with the understanding that you have a piece of paper and a regular pencil, and that's a tissue, and that's really all you have. So this is not using any fancy drawing materials. This is not what this video is for. And I want to highlight right down in here. So I'm kind of drawing that in almost with my eraser. Cleaning my outside edges up. Okay, and I can go and continue to work and adjust as needed, but this gives you a pretty decent start for a cylinder shape that looks like a tube. So I hope this was helpful to you, and I can't wait to see how your tubes and cylinders turned out.